The British and the Germans, a story of unrequited love or playing hard to get. Can the British really leave Don't Mention the War behind? And are these stereotypes really outdated, or are they so deeply ingrained in the British psyche that they endure on for generations? In fact, in 2005, the then German ambassador in London complained that the constant repetition of cliches and stereotypes in the British media sometimes completely swamps the reality. His criticism was not referring to too much Hitler, but more not enough modern-day Germany. He believes that the lessons that Germany has learned from the Holocaust and World War II are completely glossed over in British school history lessons. And I think he had a point, when it comes to history lessons about Germany, we are very selective. The war and the Nazis dominate the classroom, and there's very little attention given to post-war Germany and even less to post-reunification. And so while the Germans are obsessed with the British royal family, the British can't seem to quell their obsession with the past. But is this really the case? Do the British really only just think of Hitler, the war, and sausages when it comes to Germany? Or has the media skewed things all out of proportion? Well, a 2023 study by Delta Poll and a 2022 survey by the British Foreign Policy Group really paints quite a different picture. The most interesting thing about these studies is that they were broken down by age, gender, and political leaning, and quite frankly, really gave some results which I still don't quite understand. So please watch until the end and see if you can help me to determine why men and women see Germany very differently, and why conservatives look to Germany with admiration and appreciation. When asked about alliances, 2/3 of Brits believe that international relationships and cooperation make the UK more resilient, and 63% judged Germany as the most likely country to act responsibly in the world, above France and America. Okay, so unfortunately, act responsibly was not defined in the study, but I assume you mean something like making well thought out and fair decisions when it comes to the environment and foreign policy. And so for all the piss-taking and crowd jokes, even Brits who have never been to Germany still view the country as a country that is reliable and trustworthy, and a country of people that are predictable and really take the moral implications into consideration when making decisions. Something which might seem surprising given the angle that the media usually takes with Germany, but this is not something that really is very surprising to me, especially for me growing up in the UK. The people that I was surrounded with really saw and judged Germany as quite a reliable, robust and trustworthy country. And Germans were a reflective kind of people who really put a lot of thought and energy into the decisions that they made and didn't really do things on a whim. Another study carried out by the German embassy found that from a list of attributes, organized, efficient and hardworking are items most commonly associated with Germany. And in all honesty, I think it were these kind of attributes which first attracted me to the country. I've always valued efficiency and organization. I've always really hated chaos. And although there are a lot of things which are not efficient here, comparatively speaking, Germany is a well-organized, efficient country. In fact, one of the reasons that I left the UK in the first place was that I was just very frustrated with the way things are going, especially with the Labour government at the time. Although, I was barely more than a teenager back then. And is it not really kind of normal to rebel against your immediate surroundings at that age? When I go back to the UK now, there are many things which I really do like and value about the country. Politics is not one of them, though. But just to hammer this point home, 70% of respondents to the survey view Germany in a positive light. So for all the Germans out there who have been on the receiving end of British sarcasm or snide remarks, it's not the majority, and it seems that the media has painted an unrepresentative picture of the British attitudes towards Germany. The Delta Poll survey found that Germany is an important international partner for the UK, coming in second among non-English speaking countries, just behind France. And I do think that this is a key point of importance that Germany and most other European countries just don't understand. Obviously, the editors of this survey try to paint the results in a very positive picture. But if you include the other English-speaking countries, Germany doesn't even make the top 5 when it comes to international partners, coming in right behind the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and France. The UK still has its Commonwealth, where the King is still head of state in many countries around the world. And I know that the UK has been losing relevance for many, many years, economically and politically, but still in the minds of the average person, the UK is much culturally closer to the US, to Canada, Australia, New Zealand, than it is to any of the European countries. And I mean, this should not really come as a surprise. Language is extremely important. And politics and international relations aside, why do you think Germans like to holiday in Mallorca and Austria and Switzerland? It's because of the language. It's because of the language and the culture. And people don't like foreign places. Most people, when they go on holiday, they don't like to have everything completely foreign and new and different. They like going to places like Mallorca, where you have the nice sort of bits of foreign culture, where you have nice weather, the sun is shining, you have good food, but you also are able to get your cafe and kuchen at 2:00 sharp, on the beach. Well, it's really no different for the British. However geographically close Germany and Europe might be, the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, all these English-speaking countries, as well as countries like India, are just inextricably tied up with the UK. Spain might be the number one tourist destination for Brits, but really most Brits go to places like Gran Canaria, Tenerife, Benidorm, which really have nothing to do with Spain whatsoever. It's basically just like a UK Saturday night out on steroids, with sun and even cheaper beer and food than you get elsewhere. When it comes to the most popular languages to learn, Spanish and French are the most commonly selected, followed by Italian. German comes in fourth place, with only 13% of respondents choosing this as a foreign language which they would like to learn. And I know that most Germans will not understand this, but learning German is hard for native English speakers. The main reason being is that Germans generally have a better level of English than the French or the Italian or the Spanish. And on top of that, they are not very proud of their linguistic heritage, at least not in the way that the French or the Italians are. And what I mean by this is that Germany is very open and very receptive to foreign cultures. There is just so much English that has seeped into the German language, and even today now Arabic and Turkish is seeping into the German language all over the place, and it's gotten to the point where a native English speaker who has no experience of German or German culture would probably not understand German speaking English, because they've developed a kind of weird Denglish mix of both languages. This might be similar to a country like the Netherlands, but the southern European countries like Italy, like Spain, like France, they are just much more proud of their cultural heritage, and they are just more resistant to cultural influences coming to the language. I seem to have gotten over this hump now, but when I first moved to Germany, all Germans just replied to me in English when I was trying to speak German, which was very frustrating. And yes, English is like a simplified version of German. There are very many similarities, but the grammatical structure is just very complicated for an English native speaker to learn. And, most people that learn it as an adult are never going to get the articles or the cases perfect. A strong majority of respondents, almost 70%, hold a positive view of Germany, and only 16% hold a negative view. However, the results are actually broken down by gender, age, and political leaning. And in general, men have a much more positive view of Germany than women. Why is this? And why would this be the case? Is it due to the fact that things that Germany is known for, like engineering, like cars, like beer and war, are these things that maybe interest men more than women? Or am I completely off? Is it something completely different? Conservatives see Germany more positively than any other political group. And this is something which does not really surprise me. Germany is generally fairly conservative. It does uphold very conservative beliefs like the nuclear family, like marriage, like property rights, freedom of religion, all that kind of good stuff. And the generation, the age group which sees Germany most positively are millennials. So me. And so speaking from my personal perspective, I did not grow up during the war. my grandparents died when I was very young. And so I had no real tangible personal experience with that side of history. And so the vast majority of respondents, 70%, view Germany positively. They associate Germany with efficiency, hard work, and organization, and they see Germany as a very important partner in the future of the UK. Of all people surveyed, conservative male millennials hold the most positive view of Germany. And so what do you think? Is this representative or is it totally off? Let me know in the comments below. I do hope you enjoyed this one. You can read all the results, all the survey results down below in the links.